I have a magic potion that can make you all look a lot more youthful, increase your happiness levels, and add around 20 years to your life. How many of you would want to have it? Wow, that's a lot of hands. And I was told that doctors do not believe in magic. It's obviously not true. But today, in the next 17 minutes, I will share with you all a blueprint that can exactly do that. Around 2 decades back, I happened to almost die by drowning into a stream that was flooded with water. There was a makeshift bridge. I tried to cross it, but somehow I tripped and I fell into that stream of gushing water. I remember the helplessness. I really wanted to breathe, but I could not. And the tossing and turning was incredibly devastating for me as a person, and for a while I thought, this is it. Thankfully, I was accompanied by a boy who cried on top of his voice, and a few farmers came from the fields nearby, and I was saved. That day, I realized the importance of life and how fragile we are as people. We and you all have a 1 in 10 raised power, 26,85,000 possibilities of being here. You're all more than lottery winners. And to add to it, the number of cells that are working right now in making your each breath possible, 37 trillion cells. To give you a perspective, the number of bricks in the entire buildings of the world, it is less than the number of cells in our body. That's how remarkable our bodies are. And if you know cells and bricks, and we all know it, cells and bricks are incomparable. There are lakhs of processes happening in each cell. There is more to it. We live in the best time in the history of mankind. The best possible time. If we just compare ourselves with what we were 70 years back as Indians, our poverty levels has reduced by 8 times. Our number of hospitals has increased over 5 times. Our life expectancy has more than doubled. The amount of food available has more than doubled. And the figures are in front of you. The social connection we all have has become infinite times better. But it seems we are messing it up. Our happiness levels have been under constant decline for the last 30 years. The mental health issues, you all know what's happening. And then the obesity levels, you talk about the cardiovascular diseases, around 60% increase in the last few decades. That's huge. And somehow, we're all connected with each other, and yet we have lost touch with our own selves and with the rest of the world. I have always been wondering how to solve this problem, Earlier, we suffered from scarcity and lack of direction, and today, we seem to be suffering from the excess and being too fixated on a problem. And usually, that problem happens to be career. Today, my thought that I'm going to present with you all is, let's all live lives where we focus on all the things that really matter. We live holistic lives and also try to live them as optimally as possible. And so my idea, my magic potion, holistic optimalism. My journey started off in a small village in Kashmir, and I ended up being in conference rooms that would decide policies for 1.4 billion Indians. And what I could really marvel about there was the remarkable complexity with which the human beings are capable of thinking. The scientists, the policymakers, and all those statistics and models. But me being from a very humble background, I wanted to marry this complexity with the simplicity. For the last 10 years, I have been collaborating with psychologists, philosophers, doctors, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, trying to find that sweet spot of living the best life we could and making the best of this opportunity that we call life. And I think I have reached to some conclusions. And in public dealing, I realized a couple of things. Motivation is a remarkable thing. And you may have all the necessary information in the world, but will it make you act? How many of you, for example, just let's do this here. How many of you think fitness is very good for longevity? How many of you think that? How many of you believe that? All of us, it's a no-brainer, right? How many of us go to gyms? All right, that's 5% people. But the global statistic for the amount of people who go to gym is less than that, is 2.4%. And in India, it is 0.2%. So somehow there's a mismatch. We have the information and we don't have adequate people doing it. So my question always would be, what would really then change the behavior of people around me? How do I do something that really changes people's perception and also the actions they do after that? And I consulted a lot of these behavior scientists and I realized a vivid, clear message. 1, and small, easy, actionable goals. 2, these are actually the key to solving the problem of behavior change. Information, awareness, and motivation. That brings me to the 5 low-hanging fruits of holistic optimalism. Now let's start the journey. You see a diamond there at last? That essentially means there is something special at last. The first low-hanging fruit of holistic optimalism that can, by the way, add years to your life and life to your years is activity of a shepherd. How many of you here know that women live longer than men? You see, women are patting their backs right now. But there's a place in Sardinia, Italy, where men outlive women. So all the men in this hall, pay attention to me. There are these designated places called blue zones in the world. Blue zones are places where they have the highest concentration of the longest living people. The first blue zone that was identified was Sardinia, Italy. There people live up to 90s and 100s. It has the highest concentration of centenarians. What they realized, among a lot of other things, these men were shepherds. Are shepherds, in fact. And they go up the mountain, move around 5 to 6 miles every day. And these small bursts of activity has been helping them live remarkably longer lives. So my dear friends, you don't need to be an athlete to reap the benefits of fitness and longevity. Small to moderate activity, maybe 10 to 15 minutes of walks here and there, walk in nature, or for that matter, some amount of stretching can actually be of a great help. And there is something special about shepherds. I'll tell you what. Krishna, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, do you know what's common between them all? They all were shepherds in one part of their lives. So somehow we probably need to go to our basics, our roots, and identify what wisdom lies in there, and also marry it with whatever modern science tells us. And that brings me to the next really important point, or the low-hanging fruit, and we are making a fruit salad today. It is purposefulness of an entrepreneur. And you know what I love about entrepreneurs? They know a problem and they know they want to solve it. And they wake up every morning thinking about the problem. They know what they have to do. I'm taking you to some other blue zones now. For example, Ikigai is a concept that is quite prevalent in this blue zone called Okinawa. And Ikigai actually essentially means life's purpose. So these people actually have life's purpose. They know why they wake up every morning. And 14,000 kilometers away, there is this another blue zone called Costa Rica, far away, different cultures, but another purpose, name for purpose called Plantivida. Once you have a purpose, it has been associated with positive effect. It has been associated with lower depression levels. There is this study by Robert Butler that suggests that 7 to 9 years are added to one's life if they know why they wake up every morning. So, dear friends, we have a term in Vedas for it, which is dharma. Let's all find our dharma. Which brings me to the third and probably one of the dearest aspect of my life, and also a low-hanging fruit. By the way, she's my 3-year-old daughter, Ella. And she calls me Toti. Tot was a Kashmiri word for beloved. One day when she was 2.5, rather than singing, Daddy finger, where are you? Here I am, how do you do? She started singing, Toti finger, where are you? Here I am, how do you do? And for me, it was nothing short of a miracle. Because a big leap in her showcase of creativity. In kids, by the way, there are 1 million neural connections happening every single second. Their brains are literally on fire. But what was thought earlier was that this neuroplasticity does not remain the same. Obviously, it does not. But then it stagnates after a certain time. But there are increased researches that now suggest that neuroplasticity is actually something that keeps happening. And you can actually reverse your brain's age. How? By being curious as kids. Spend some time every day learning something, reading probably, learning a new skill, or sitting in the company of a wise person. That's all it would take you to be a lot happier. And at the same time, it also has longevity effects. The first 3 low-hanging fruits are about going out, are about purpose, or about learning. And the fourth one, can we all take a deep breath? It is about stillness of a monk. There is a title in the world called the happiest person in the world. And there is actually a person who holds this title. His name is Matthew Ricard. He was a molecular geneticist like me, and now is a monk unlike me. And this man, actually, he was researched by Wisconsin University for around 12 years, and he proved out to be the happiest person in the world. My dear friends, if I ask you this question, how many of us are really happy? How many of us can really stay alone and be with our own thoughts for a while? There, by the way, was an experiment done in Virginia University, and 67% males preferred giving themselves electric shocks than staying with their own thoughts for 30 minutes. What if we develop the stillness of a monk by maybe mindfulness meditation, maybe some form of prayer, or maybe what I call the happiness switch, which is gratitude? My dear friends, there is so much research on the positive effects of gratitude. And one more Brahmastra, which is generosity, kindness. There is so much research being done on generosity and its effects on longevity, and there are some remarkably positive results. And it's not just about longevity. It's about being happy and prosperous every single day. Negativity is our default setting. If we have to think positive, it's actually a conscious choice. You have to put some effort to think positive. Negativity bias helped us survive all these years. It helped our ancestors survive. We are alive because of negativity bias. But if you want to live a positive life, you have to make the conscious choice. Which brings me to the fifth, the diamond of the fruit salad of low-hanging fruits of holistic optimalism that we are dealing with, which is connection of a mother. Why mother? Because mother's connections, they're usually the most selfless ones. And when I invite you all to the connection of a mother, it's not just being connected with somebody you know, but connection with your own self. Your relationship with yourself is the prime moving force in your life. And then it reinforces the connections with others and then with the environment. This is what it is all about. Dan Bittner, the pioneer of Blue Zone research, he says in one of his statements something remarkable, that if you do not have 3 people, think about the people in your lives. If you do not have 3 people you can talk to in adversity, you're actually minusing 7 to 9 years of your life. One of the longest growing research is called Harvard Study on Adult Development. They did a research on around so many people for around 85 years, and it still is going on. And they realized this remarkable thing. And Robert Waldinger mentions it in his TED Talk also, that the biggest matter which is important for the longevity in human beings is actually the quality of relationships. In fact, this might ruffle feathers of most of the doctors here. He says in his TED Talk that above 50, more than the amount of cholesterol in your blood, it is the quality of your relationships that determines how long you're going to live. So dear friends, invest in quality relationships. My 5 low-hanging fruits of holistic optimism, they start with doing simple things. Mowing around a little, going on walks in nature, reading a little, and finding your purpose, finding why you're alive, and then investing in good relationships. Dear friends, if you're able to do these, it's going to start a beautiful cascade effect. We as Indians spend around 2.3 hours on social media every day, which is, by the way, the highest in the world. My proposition is, what if we spend a fraction of it on ourselves? How would the world look like? How would our lives look like in the long run? Dear friends, ultimately, the biggest events in life boil down to the small choices we make every single day. These choices snowball into the results we ultimately see. I invite you all to take the first step into this journey of holistic optimalism, because 1,000 miles journey starts with a single step. Thank you so much.